SRB Media.
Now, in that 67, the year, England had just won the World Cup. On the 11th of April in 1967, a group of young Scottish players come to Wembley and showed England really how to play football, and for some time after were undisputed champions of the world because you've beaten the European champions. Let's start there before we go back to Leeds, because, you know, that was not the first time that a Scottish team had come to Wembley. In 1928, there was another group of Wembley Wizards when it was Alex Jackson and Alex James totally destroyed England 5-1. Did Scotland that day in 67 draw anything from the 1928 demolition of England?
I don't think so, Gabby, but the thrill of it all for me was that most of the players in the team, I had seen them from afar, and to be lining up with them to play against England, who were the world champions and hadn't been beaten, I think it was for 19 games, which showed you what a good team that England were. But the thing was, we had a lot of great players in our team, and I think we were pretty confident, although obviously England were favourites. But I think, honestly, Gabby, I think I was one of the few Scotsmen really to appreciate England winning the 1966 World Cup final at Wembley, because obviously I was plying my trade in England, and I thought that can only be good for the game in England. And I was thrilled when they won the World Cup, and then to come up against them the following year on my debut, that was just a dream come true.
How did it feel? Talk me through the goal, because Jinky wasn't playing, he was injured. And I think, did Bobby Lennox play in that game, or was it Bobby Murdoch? One of the Bobbies was injured and didn't play, didn't they?
Yeah, it was Bobby Murdoch. Bobby Murdoch didn't play.
Yeah.
Bobby Lennox was one of the goal scorers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was it, yeah.
And it was a 1-2 with you and, was it Willie Wallace? And you took the ball in. Tremendous the way that you got in, little 1-2, and just dinked it over Banksy. That must have given you such pleasure. It made you jump almost as high as my house.
It certainly does, and it still makes me jump, but not quite as high these days, Gabby. But the thing was, what was happening really, it was coming towards the end of the game. I knew there was probably, maybe 5 minutes left, and Billy Bremner, who was very astute, playing the time out, because Leeds United used to do this a lot. Billy took the ball down into the left-hand side corner, and as he took it down there, I thought that there's nobody really around, so I just made a beeline for Billy, and as Billy got the ball, he passed it to Bobby Lennox, who passed it on to my good self, and I was at this time just outside the 18-yard box, so I just turned to the right a little bit, played a 1-2 with Willie Wallace, was on my way to smashing it into the goal, and I was worried because Bobby Moore was closing down on me, and so was Gordon Banks coming at his goal. But I got there before them, and the ball was in the back of the net, and it was a wonderful moment. But I felt completely in control of what was going on, Gabby. And to me, for me being so young and to be able to do that, I thought that was. I was really pleased with myself without taking it out of context. But when it hit the back of the net, it was fantastic, because as a kid in the Gaubles, playing on the bowling greens, we were always playing England, and I was always scoring for Scotland against England, and that was the dream, and the dream came true.
Well, it is the oldest rivalry in football, the first international game, of course, 1872, but they played friendly games before that. So the rivalry goes back an awful long time. Now, there's an urban myth that before the game kicks off, there's 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go before the whistle's blown and you're out into the tunnel and you get lined up. Slim Jim was reading the Racing Post. Is that true or is that fiction?
No, that's fiction. No, Jim Baxter was probably one of the most confident players I ever played with. Great guy. No, he was certainly focused on the game, and so was the other players in the team. And we had some great players, i.e. Dennis Law, Bobby Lennox, Billy Bremner, Tommy Gemmell, John Gregg, and of course Jim Baxter. And we had, like I said, we had a lot of players that really wanted to do well against England.
The way I see it and the way I look at both the teams, my honest opinion that if the World Cup would have been in Scotland and played at Hampden Park, I think you guys could have been the world champions because you were a match for England. You look at and you reference the names there. The great Caesar, Billy McNeil, he wasn't in the team. It was McKinnon, he kept him out. And you got players that were in and around that were injured. And when you look, Dennis Law, there was no greater inside forward than Dennis Law. And Jim Baxter, let's talk briefly about Slim Jim. Why they call him Slim Jim and how brilliant a footballer was Jim Baxter? Because in that game, he also played keepy uppy as well. How did the English players perceive that?
Well, I don't think they were too happy about it because that's something really that you don't always do and things like this. But Jim was called Slim Jim because obviously he was tall and he was slim, but he was quite a character. And I remember in the dressing room before the game, Bobby Brown, who was our manager, his style of management was that he would come and have a quiet word with you and wish you all the best. But for some unknown reason, about quarter of an hour before the game started, Bobby Brown, our manager, started to talk, and Jim Baxter had a ball in his hands, and as soon as Bobby, the manager, started to talk, Jim started bouncing the ball, and he says, "Aye, great, Bobby, right, lads, let's go outside." And I was sat there, my first game, 20 years of age, and I'm thinking, what do I do here? It was Bobby Brown trying to do a team talk, and it was Baxter taking most of the team out to the tunnel. So I ended up going towards the tunnel with Baxter, and all we could hear in the background was Bobby Brown shouting, "All the best, lads, all the best, lads." And we just went out and we played England.
But do you think that's, again, looking at it as a football fan, you're going into the Lions' Den, you're literally the free Lions' Den. England are the world champions. You need that little bit of confidence, exuberance, almost arrogance, if you like, to go onto their stage and take that game to them. And I guess that's pretty much what Jim Baxter was doing to all you guys, especially the younger players.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so was Dennis. The wonderful thing for me was on the Thursday morning before the game was when we trained. And I could see what quality that Baxter had, and Dennis Law, and I knew Billy because Billy was at Leeds, and the Scottish players, i.e. John Gregg, Bobby Lennox, Ronnie McKinnon, and that filled me with confidence. I thought England will have to be at their best here because I thought the manager had picked a really good squad, and the team was complementing each other.
SRB Media. And both the book and the podcast will be out shortly. SRB Media.